back. Welcome back. Thank you all for clicking on this podcast. You are tuned in to episode 28 of Excuse Me, I'm Speaking. This podcast is being brought to you by yours truly. I'm talking about myself, your one and only host. You can call me Twinkle, call me SheIsTwinkle, call me Antoinette. As long as you're calling my name, that's all that matters to me. I'm really excited about today's episode. There's a lot of things going on in the celebrity realm, but I really wanted to talk about some hard truths today. So I was very intentional in choosing the topics for today, and I really hope you all enjoy. But before we get into that, I'm going to do a really quick question of the day just as an icebreaker. So, the question of the day for today is, as a child, what was your favorite recess activity? Now, for me to elaborate on that a little bit more, to refresh your memory in case you didn't already forgot what recess was like, remember at recess, you had all types of activities you could play, whether they had a jungle gym or whether they had swings or a field or a blacktop where you could play basketball, you could play tag, all of that. So for me, my answer, it is a tie because it was hard for me to choose just one. But my number one recess activity would have to be tetherball. I absolutely love tetherball. And that should have told me that I was an introvert at a very young age. I should have known then, but whatever. But as you know, every single school doesn't have tetherball. So my next option would be Foursquare. When I tell y'all I was a beast at Foursquare, I was a Foursquare queen, like getting them out. Let's move on before the bell rings. Y'all, that's how I truthfully almost got into my first fight. The girl was out and she would not move out the square, and it was my turn. Yeah, but let me not go down that road. Anywho, yeah, that was sixth grade. But anyways, I would love to hear you guys' answers to today's questions. If you're watching this on YouTube, please comment below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe. And also, if you're listening to me on any other podcast platform, send me your answer to today's question on Instagram at SheIsTwinkle1. Send me a DM or leave a comment under a picture. I would love to hear you guys' feedback. Anywho, so diving right into the first topic for today. This topic is deep. There was some hard truths that definitely had to be faced. Yeah, we are talking about Kirk Franklin. I know that it has been surfacing around people's households, the conversation, as well as social media. Yeah, he came out and he told his own story, his own way, and almost had me in tears. So let me do a really quick review and recap of Kirk Franklin's A Father's Day Story, a Kirk Franklin story. You could find it on his YouTube channel, 35 minutes long. It was amazing, but let me give you a quick recap. So to start off with, Kirk Franklin is just, it's him and the camera. He's just going down a list of things that he struggled with throughout life, whether it was not having or not having food at one point or not having gas or getting things repossessed in his life, basically painting the story to tell you that, yes, he has success now, but his life has not been a fairy tale. So let's start at the beginning. So Kirk Franklin lets us know in the video that he was adopted at the age of 4. Now, the kicker is that he was not adopted by, all American family where there's a young mom and a dad and they raise him up as his own son and he becomes this big gospel artist. No, he was actually adopted by a 64-year-old woman named Gertrude. Now, mind you, at 64 years old, you're just trying to do your best. You're trying to do all that you can. You don't have the same energy that you had maybe when you were 24 or 34. So Kirk, at that time, he was describing how he felt growing up in his childhood. He didn't grow up with siblings. There wasn't a lot of people around. He didn't have his biological father and mother. He didn't have a lot of great memories. Gertrude did what she could, but she couldn't provide him with a lot. So a lot of the times he felt alone. Now, the downside to this is that they did live in this small community in this small neighborhood. So within that community, his mother still came in and out. So he would see his biological mother, which her name is Deborah, and he still refers to her as Deborah, not mom, mommy, mother, none of that. Deborah, his biological mother, would still see him 1 to 2 times a year, maybe on a good year, 3 to 4 times. Now, for him, this was a traumatic experience that he had to relive over and over again. In his words, he says that it was a scar that just wouldn't heal because he had to continuously watch her walk away. And as a child, he's thinking, well, why can't I go with you this time? Y'all sticking with me? Okay. So at this point in the documentary, that he had to tell that story because he had to paint a picture of where he was in life and what led him to becoming this major best-selling gospel artist. So at that time, there was a piano that he had access to. That's how he learned to play. That is how he got into gospel music. That was kind of his release, his therapy, all of that. So that is how he got into music. So at this point now, he is working on his 13th album. So that is the purpose of him recording this video. So for the first time in 13 albums, he's never documented his musical writing or album creation experience. But this time he has a camera and he's documenting it all, not knowing that this was intended for a purpose because he didn't know his life was going to change in the midst of this documentary process. So, the ironic part about this is that y'all know that Kirk Franklin, he is not like the singer of the group. I refer to Kirk Franklin as like the hype man, like the Flavor Flav of the group, but he really is the brains behind it, like the genius. He writes the lyrics, conducts the music, all of that. So he always has a group of singers that he has on his albums that they are able to like bring those songs to life. So one of the singers who has been singing with him since she was a little girl, her name was Melody. So one night she gives Kirk a call. She called him because she needed to let him know that there was a funeral that happened at her church, and this was in April of 2023. They started recording this experience in March of 2023. So at this point, the funeral that was at her church, Kirk was aware of it because it was actually for one of his biological aunts. So that was the reason he didn't go to the funeral, because he figured Deborah, his biological mother, would be there. And at this point, he said he hadn't seen her in over 23 years. Kirk is 53 now. So I would say since he was around 30 years old, he stopped seeing her. We'll dig deeper into this later. So, anywho, at the funeral, Melody's dad has a good childhood friend there. His friend's name is Rick, just a nice guy that's been in the community as well. So, Rick is talking to Melody's family and tells them, like, hey, I used to date Deborah when I was a little boy. So, you know how it worked. I don't care. There's gossip in the office, there's gossip within families, and there be gossip within churches too. Okay. Once people hear some juicy information, they start being like, you used to date her. You are kind of short. Okay, look at the ears, look at the eyes, look at the nose. Girl, this could be something. Okay. That could be Kirk Franklin's daddy. Right. So all these rumors started surfacing, like swirling around like crazy, to the point where Deborah, his biological mother, she heard about the rumors. So somehow Deborah got a hold of Kirk's number and she leaves him a voicemail. So Deborah says, in so many words, this is Deborah. I've heard about the rumors that are going around. I'm sure you've heard about them as well. If you want to know something, call me back. Just remember, I will always tell you the truth. So we can talk about this. Okay, cool. So moving right along with the story, Rick hears about the rumors as well, too. So Rick, he has never thought that Kirk was his son or anything. But since the rumors keep going, he's like, look, I'll do my part. it ain't gonna hurt nothing. Let me take a DNA test. I'll swab my mouth. I'll give my swabs to Melody's family, and Melody can get them to Kirk, and he can do with it what he wants to do with it. If he wants to take the DNA test, great. If he doesn't, that's fine as well. I just want to be of any type of help that I can be. So Kirk gets the samples. He takes them to his doctor. Kirk gets his mouth swabbed and then sends them into his doctor. Now, pause. This is nothing new for Kirk because, of course, he has been famous all of these years. So he's done interviews with his wife and he said how he was adopted. He knows his biological mother, but for a while he didn't know who his father was. He's had some inklings here and there, but he wasn't sure. So he's used to a lot of people writing in and saying like, "Hey, I'm the baby's daddy. I'm your pappy. I'm your daddy." You know, people probably trying to come up off of his fame. Correct? Let's just be real. That's a hard truth. So he's taken tests throughout the years, but of course they were not true. Now this guy has taken this test. Kirk didn't think anything of it. He sent in his swabs to his doctor. Then his doctor calls, and somebody that was with him is capturing the moment. So we see him, a phone video of him being recorded as his doctor is telling him the results are in, and the results are 99.999%. So Kirk is like, percent what? Good question. So the doctor says that the paternity is true. It's correct. He is your father. So Kirk is at a loss for words. Like, what the what? What? Like it literally took the wind out of him. And I'm watching this like, oh my gosh, this is a lot. Now, I didn't understand his emotions at first, but once he was able to calm down, he even explains to his doctor, like, you know what, this is a lot for me to process because I thought I really already knew my father. Somebody told him that Dwight Allen was his daddy years ago. And he's thinking that he's hated this man his whole life. And he got sick back in like 2017 or 2018. Kirk went to go visit him, made peace with him before he passed away. And so he's thinking, like, I buried the man who I thought was my daddy. Even though I hated him, I tried to make peace with it and move on. And now you're telling me that that man wasn't even my daddy? Like, what? Are you serious? So I've been hating a man my whole life and he didn't deserve that. So Kirk is like, you know what? This is a lot for me to process right now. I'm processing a lot of anger and I got to get through this. At one point, y'all, Kirk was like, what the? And he stopped. And I'm like, okay, Kirk, we heard your mixtape when you went off on your son, so you may as well go there because we didn't already heard it, but I get it. Okay. He's trying to be renewed, refreshed, saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost. I get it. So Kirk then is like, I need a moment. I need to breathe. So at this point, Kirk goes into his team that he's working on his album with. He lets them know, like, hey, there has been a bump in the road. We're going to continue working on the project, but I also have something major going on in my life right now as well that I'm also going to be working on. So I thought that was fair. He let them know, about his dad and all of that and taking the test and all of that because he's surrounded by these people all the time now. So if somebody start acting different or they're a little bit more emotional, like it's good to give them a heads up. Like I got something serious going on in my life. So while he's at this meeting with them, he gets on the phone and he calls his mom's other sister. So this is technically his aunt. Now let me tell y'all how this phone call went. So he calls Deborah's sister, Sandra. Phone call. Ring, 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 ring. Sandra picks up. Hello? He says, Sandra? She said, Who? Who you calling? He rolled his eyes. He said, Aunt Sandra? She said, Thank you. Okay. Hi, Kirk. I said, Now, if his mama did not raise him, you did not have an influence in his life, and you got the nerve to be like, who you calling? Oh, okay then. And so then Kirk responds back to her and says, "That's not something I appreciate, but I'm not going to get into that if that's how you choose to communicate." And she's like, "Okay, like you ain't going to disrespect me." Now pause, y'all. Myself, along with a bunch of other people, was like, "Who do she think she is? Like he owe you that type of respect. You ain't never been no type of auntie to him." However, I understand that is her generation. And it's like, I don't care if you only see me once a year. I don't care if you see me once every 5 years. You going to call me Aunt Sandra. You want to call your mama Deborah. That's on y'all. But you going to call me Aunt Sandra because that's who I am to you. Now, she wasn't a mother to you. I'm not saying I've been an aunt, but I don't deserve to be disrespected. So I can see both sides, but come on now, lady. Like, don't be difficult. Just let's like ease up to that point of calling you Aunt Sandra. But you know what? He was like, let me be the bigger person and get through this. The purpose of him calling her is because he wanted to meet up with the both of them, probably to tell them the news in person. That was a big deal because remember, he hasn't seen his mother in over 23 years. Right. So, moving forward, on May 26th of 2023, that was the first time that he actually met his biological father. So, the cameras have him in a truck. He pulls up to his father's house in the same little neighborhood. The ironic part about this is that the neighborhood is just like down the street, like not far from his actual recording studio. So this man that's his actual birth father has been within reach this entire time. So this is like freaking him out. Like this is crazy. Like he wasn't even looking for me. I wasn't looking for him. I thought this other man was my daddy and I was hating him. Now this man been here the whole time. So you know what? Let me just woosah. The language that Kirk was using, you could tell he's been doing some therapy and he's working and he's trying to, push through these hard moments. So he goes, rings the guy's doorbell. So the guy opens up the door and he is just a nice older gentleman. The home is nice. The ceilings are high. I'm looking at the decorations in the background because, that's just me. I'm looking at the decorations, the couch. We don't see anybody else. Like, we don't see a wife or kids or anything like that. But this moment was just about him and Kirk. And the guy was so courteous. He wasn't defensive or anything. Now, the kicker is that this man, Rick, he didn't even read the DNA results because he was like, you know what? I want to leave that in your hands, Kirk. I don't even know the results. So if you're here to tell me, then I am open to that. No problem. As long as you're okay. So Kirk is like, I respect that. You can tell he's very nervous. And throughout this entire documentary, he is having like muscle spasms. Like if you pay attention to it and watch it on your own, like his jaw or his cheek would like just spasm or jerk out of nowhere. And I think it's just his body naturally reacting because he's anxious, he's nervous, and it's kind of like remembering different like traumatic situations he's been through and just trying to endure and hold on throughout this very hard process. So he gives the guy his DNA results. He opens it up and sees that he is the father. Yeah, he did not go running off the stage like on Maury. He was not disappointed. If anything, he was trying to hold it together, but at some point he couldn't and he just broke down in tears and he apologizes and he's like, I'm so sorry. If I would have known, I would have been there. Like I would have been a father to you. I am so sorry. And Kirk is like, it's okay because you didn't know. This Rick guy had no idea. He doesn't say what age they were when he dated Deborah, and I don't know what date it is. I don't know what if date it was y'all was saying y'all was boyfriend and girlfriend, or if y'all just fooled around. I don't know if you fooled around once or more than a few times, but he said he never had any inkling that he had a son out there. And he just so happened to bring this up to Melody's family at her sister's funeral and was like, I used to date Deborah when I was a little boy. Now, I think if he was a teenager, he would have said, I used to date her when I was a teenager, but he's saying little boy. So that makes me think, like, how old was he? Was he even fully aware of what he was doing and the potential consequences of him bringing a child into this world? So, anywho, fast forward, him and Kirk, they embrace each other, they give each other a hug. They are very delicate and gentle about it because this is a man finding out that he has a 53-year-old son that he wasn't there for. So he's feeling guilty, but at the same time, it's a catch 22 because he had no idea that he was a father to him. So he couldn't be there. So it's also unfair for him. So they both missed out on being in each other's lives. And the man looks like a great guy, upstanding. We don't know too much about his background, but he seems like he's doing well for himself, even at this age at his life. So that was a good experience, a good moment for Kirk. Now, so Kirk goes back to the car. He wanted to kill two birds with one stone. Okay, he met his biological father. Now he's going to go meet up with Sandra and Deborah, aka Aunt Sandra and Deborah, because he wanted to get it over with. So I always got to tell y'all about his conversations with Sandra because she is a hot mess. So he gets over to her house. She comes and opens up the door. Well, she opens up the door and Kirk says, Hi. She said, Get your A out. Y'all know what I mean by that. And he says, Did you sign the paper? And she says, I ain't signed yet. Okay. And so he says, Well, you have to sign the paper. She said, I will inside. He said, Can you please sign the paper? Please, Auntie Sandra. She said, Like, you better get it right. You know, that's the way to get me to do something. You better respect me. Like, she didn't say that extra, but that's what her face said. Okay. But she did say, okay. All right. So then he says, Is Deborah here yet? She said, No, but she's on her way. He said, Okay, I will wait in the car until she gets here. Understandable. When he's waiting in the car, he's saying that he feels so anxious. Like, he knows he's 53 years old, but he's feeling like a 10-year-old little boy, especially the way she just spoke to him. And he's trying to keep it cool. And I can understand that. I think a lot of us could, because there's times in your life where you revert back to the childlike version of yourself, whether it is like a traumatic instance or something or someone or some tone of voice or whatever triggers you and takes you back to that same childlike state. So although you're fully aware that you are fully grown, there's like that little kid that's inside of you that's like, let me just like hide in this car. And so seeing that from a male's point of view, a black male's point of view, like, that was different for us to see and for him to admit on camera. But I'm glad he did, because a lot of people could probably relate to that. So fast forward, he goes into the house. His mom and Aunt Sandra are inside. He tells his mom he took a DNA test and this man named Rick is his father. She said, I can tell you, I am 100% sure that test is wrong. That is not true. He is not your father. I reject that test and I stand on it. He is not your daddy. So Kirk is like, okay, it's DNA. She said, well, it's not right. I can tell you that. So Kirk is trying to be calm. And the scene goes to another scene where, since she rejected the first test, I guess she agreed to doing a test in person with all parties involved present. So they go to a testing facility, DNA facility, and it is Sandra, Aunt Sandra, his mother, Deborah, and Rick are there at the testing center. They do the swabs of DNA in front of everybody. The test results come right back. They are all sitting in a conference room. Kirk read the results, and the results once again said that Rick is his biological father. Rick hugs Kirk. He's like, whatever you need, however you want to move forward with this, I will be here for you. And, we can start this journey from here. Rick leaves out the room. Kirk looks at Deborah. Deborah is like, I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you, but that's not your daddy. Kirk is like, okay, you know what? I went 23 years not seeing you. I'm going to need the truth from you because you already lied to me before. You had me hating somebody else. I didn't missed out on having a father. Maybe if you would have told the truth a long time ago, Rick could have been in my life. You're telling me that you are going to reject yet another DNA test? Like DNA doesn't lie. She said, I'm telling you, that's not your daddy. He said, I need this truth from you. I need this. She said, so she starts crying and she says, I want to have a relationship with you. Are you telling me if I don't tell you what you want to hear, then there's no chance for us to have a relationship? He said, yes, that's what I'm telling you. If I don't get this truth from you, if you can't admit that, yes, that is my father, if you can't accept these test results for the second time, there is no laughs, no hugs, no kisses, no sugar, no jokes, no none of that could change that. Like, we will not move forward with a relationship. And even at this point, on Sandra, she like, girl, he just wants the truth. Yeah, it's a hard truth, but his mama needed to face it. She refused. Sad. So Kirk leaves. We know from the end of the video that was his last time seeing her. He still has not seen her again since then. And he was seriously done with the relationship. Now, my question is, I would hope that she knows who she slept with or messed around with or had actual intercourse with. Her and the Rick guy, they never interacted, or at least they didn't show that on camera. She never even said like, okay, well, yeah, I did used to date him, or okay, well, that was a one-time thing, but it wasn't even like that, or I just don't like him. Like, it was as if she just totally disregarded him. Like, this is just a lie. Like, she didn't give any type of truths. And I think that's what was frustrating Kirk. But anyways, fast forward, Kirk says it was impossible for him to do this documentary without acknowledging his own son, because of course this is a 53-year-old man that is a father meeting his real father for the first time, and then his real father finding out that he has a 53-year-old son. So we all know about the turmoil between Kirk and his oldest son, Carry-On. We heard it years ago. His oldest son released the audio message or voicemail or phone conversation between him and Kirk, where Kirk went off on him and was like, if you ever bleepity bleep 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 bleep. I mean, he went smooth off unapologetically. So since then, their relationship has been even more torn than it was before. So they have not spoken. So we see that he reached out to his son to meet with his son. I believe they met in like a hotel room, and for him to try to talk to his son and then at least let him know this important information because it affects his life as well. So his son comes in. You could tell his son, he ain't really about it. He like, man, I already know. I don't know what you're gonna say, but I already know what you're gonna say. It's about to piss me off. Like, I feel like I'm about to get irritated because I didn't send you text messages and everything, and you ain't even responded back. And I'm feeling some type of way already. But go ahead, bro. What you gotta say? So Kirk is being patient. He's like, I understand, but this is the road to recovery. Hopefully, this is a start. I found out some information about my life that also affects your life. So I want to share that with you. So Kirk gives him his phone and shows him the video of him finding out that the Rick guy is in fact his actual father, which would make him Carry-On's grandfather. So when Carry-On watches it, it was very ironic that he had the exact same reaction as Kirk. Like, he was stunned. He immediately burst into tears. He got up, he was walking around, he couldn't contain himself. It was a lot. And he's like, man, this is all I ever wanted. Like, are you serious? This is what's been missing. I've been needing I wake up, like happy, in life, but something is missing. And I know what it is that I need. I have everything I want, but I need my grandfather and my father. So that was a vulnerable a breakdown moment for him, because I'm sure it meant something that he didn't have a grandfather growing up or a grandmother, at least on his dad's side. And maybe it helped him to understand his dad a little bit more as well, too. And maybe this is the beginning of fixing this generational curse of broken relationships between father and son. And that will translate to him and Kirk's relationship. So at that point, they hug it out and they agree to work on their relationship and move forward at Carry-On's pace, whatever is comfortable for him. And they both apologize to each other for the things they've done to each other and said wrong and this, and that. So that was a very special moment. Kirk Franklin ends out his video talking about how this is going to be his 13th album. It is coming out on October 6th, and he is going to call it Father's Day, in dedication to what he's had to go through during this process, this trying time. And his album is very emotional. They were playing snippets of some of the songs, and even how he felt worthless a lot of times in life because he didn't have his father there to tell him that he was somebody, that he was something. And so now all of this coming full circle, it inspired the name of his album. And he actually kind of does, his introductions and his voiceovers on his album. And he talks about his actual relationship with his father, or feeling fatherless at times, on his album. So I'm really looking forward to checking that out. On the ending credits, it showed that he has not talked to his mother since the DNA test day. I'm sure he ain't talked to Aunt Sandra either. Him and Carry-On, they are moving forward with their relationship at Carry-On's pace, of course, but at least it's a work in progress. And his real dad, Rick, he is also building his relationship with Kirk as well as Carry-On, and willing to help with Carry-On in any type of way and be a support system and naturally build their relationship. So yeah, it was really sweet. It was really good. You should definitely go and check it out. He had to face a lot of hard truths, but thank God for that random moment at that funeral, and it brought everything together full circle, because I feel like Kirk Franklin felt like there was a part of him missing, like a hole in his heart. Something he said that was very interesting. He said it's scary for him because he doesn't know the well version of him. He doesn't know the healthy version of him. He knows the unhealthy or toxic or hurt and broken version of him. And he's learned to operate in that, but he doesn't know who he is well. And I think a lot of people all over the world can relate to that. And it's kind of scary to move into this newness. And it's like, oh, there's nothing or nobody to be mad at. And I'm well and I'm healed. And so I'm sure a lot of people can relate. And I know even with my own healing journey, it does feel better once you get past all the angry parts of it and you face the hard truths and you figure out how you move forward in your life. Then it feels a lot better, but it's different. It's kind of like, okay, this is new. This is a new version of me, but I like it. It's growing on me. So, yeah, anyways, enough of that. Real quick, I wanted to get into Taraji P. Henson. In case y'all don't remember who Taraji is Cookie from Empire, Yvette from Baby Boy. Y'all remember her in the movie Jody, My Jody. Yeah, she's been in a lot of different movies. She recently had an interview on The Breakfast Club, and I thought it was really interesting because there were some snippets in there that just really got me, and I wanted to share it with you. You should definitely check it out on your own time as well, though, as well. But her interview, she talks about a lot about mental health. She specifically wants to incorporate mental health resources into HBCUs for college students. So, of course, those are historically Black colleges and universities. I thought that was so important to today's young college students, because when you've gone away to college, that's your first time not living at home and you're on your own, and there's nobody to tell you to wake up and get ready and do this and do that and go here and go there. It is all on you as an 18-year-old, and you're figuring out life. You're figuring out who you are outside of what was your safety net. So I think mental health resources for those young college students at those historically Black colleges and universities is very much so needed. They did mention on her interview that World Mental Health Day was coming up. So I usually hear about all these different days like Siblings Day, World Mental Health Day, National Pet Day, National Secretary Day, Bosses Day, all these things. And usually I say to myself, who came up with this day? Was this social media? How did this start? Is this new? And for this one, for World Mental Health Day, I actually did go and look it up. World Mental Health Day was actually started by the World Foundation of Mental Health. So it's an international day. It is every year on October 10th. And that also led me to the question of what is mental health? Because a lot of us use that word mental health, mental health, mental health. But what is the actual definition of mental health? Because a lot of people confuse it and they think mental health means like you're like bipolar or something, like you have an actual mental health disorder. No, that is a mental health disorder, but that's not necessarily mental health. When we talk about people's physical health, it's not automatically a bad thing, because you can be in great physical health or you could have declining physical health or poor physical health. So online on a government website. It is actually for the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. On their website, it says mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well being. It affects how we think, feel, and act, and it helps determine how we handle stress, relates to others, and make choices. It is important at every stage of life, from childhood and adolescence through adulthood. Over the course of your life, if you experience mental health problems, your thinking, mood, and behavior could be affected. So, mental health is not automatically a mental health problem. Okay, let's get that clear. Yeah, that is on samhsa.gov, which stands for the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. But anywho, them talking about World Mental Health Day, that led into the discussion of doing things that bring you joy. I've had that as a question of the day on one of my podcast episodes and episodes ago. What do you do that brings you joy? And that specifically relates to maintaining your mental health, making sure that you do some type of exercise or self care to make sure that your mental health is intact. So, one thing that Taraji P. Henson did say was that it was important to never let your inner child die. So, your inner child is that innocent part of you that loves to experience joy. You know, when you're a kid and you get like an ice cream cone, it's like the best thing ever, or it's like, oh my gosh, like Arthur is on, or Flintstones, whatever it is that you watched, or like, oh my gosh, like I got sprinkles on my ice cream. Like, those little things, even if you believed in Santa Claus at one point, or like you see a rainbow and it's like, oh my gosh, whatever it is that brings you joy. My question of the day today was what's your favorite recess activity? Those are the things that bring you joy. Like, that's that inner child in you. So Charlemagne, one of the hosts of the Breakfast Club, he asked her a very interesting question. He said, a lot of people are afraid to let their inner child out because their inner child is so broken. So that's the other side of the coin. He said, so what do you do when your inner child still needs to be loved? And Taraji had a really good response. She said, you have to nurture it. You have to pay attention to it. That child, that inner child in you, that's that child that cries out for attention all the time. Pay that inner child attention, give it what it needs, let that inner child out to play. Now, who was ever upset when it was like, yeah, you can go outside and play? Oh, you can go in the backyard, you can play with the neighbor. Oh, you get an extra recess at school. It was immediate joy, instant joy. So she said, even as an adult, She lets her inner child out to play. She said she used to play and pretend like she was like owned a salon and she had clients and she did their hair. She would do her baby doll's hair. She does that now as an adult. She has a room in her house and she's like, basically her therapy room. Let me go and pretend like I have clients. I'm literally talking to myself, pretending I have little heads in here. I'm doing their hair. This is making me happy. I'm letting my inner child out to play. I thought that that was clever. Yeah, when I was a kid, I used to pretend like I was a teacher and I would like line up all of my stuffed animals and be like, you need to stop talking. You are talking too much. You need to be quiet. Okay, you have the answer. Okay, you're not answering every question. Yeah, I was very creative. I had like a little blackboard. I would be writing the questions on the board and I'd be like, great job, class. You get an extra recess today. Yeah, you have such imagination when you're a kid, but you can like bring joy in a lot of situations, even when you're by yourself as a kid. So I thought that that was very important that she pointed that out as a way to help heal that broken inner child within you is by letting that inner child out to play. So I thought that was great. But anyway, my key takeaway from that interview, Charlemagne said a really great quote, and the author of the quote is unknown, but I had to share it with y'all on here. It says, healing can be so hard when your inner child wants love, your teenage self wants revenge, and your current self only wants peace. Yeah, that was deep. Like it's like basically like it's a tussle, it's a tug of war. Like, man, the kid in me is broken, but the teenager in me is like, I want revenge. I'm pissed. But then the adult in me is like, I only want peace. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot, but it's good when you start getting to that good space. Just to wrap up the show, wanted to do some quick wrap ups. I did want to start with positive celebrity news. Yeah, we talked about this on the podcast back in February, I believe. Yes, in February, we talked about the Super Bowl, of course, because the Chiefs were winners once again. Anywho, we talked about Rihanna's performance. That was the main talk at that time. And a lot of people started putting little sprinklings out there of, ooh, who would you want for next year? And Usher has been doing his residencies in Vegas, and people have really been blowing up his shows, saying that they're just so amazing and you have to go and experience it. As we know, a lot of celebrities have been going. We see the videos on Instagram, and people were like, I want Usher. I want Usher. Y'all asked for it and y'all got it. It has been confirmed, solidified. Usher Usher Raymond's. These are my confessions. You make me want to leave the one I'm with. Yeah, all that Usher. There's a lot. The yeah Usher. There's a lot of levels to Usher. That Usher, lovers and friends Usher. He will be performing at the 2024 Super Bowl this coming February, and I am all the way here for it. It is a 13-minute performance, and yeah, I don't know what he's gonna do. Is he gonna start it all the way back at My Way? Like, what is he gonna do? I'm so excited. There's so many different guests he can bring out. Of course, I think he's gonna bring out. It would make sense. Like, you should bring out Lil Jon and Ludacris. Y'all can do, yeah, y'all can do Lovers and Friends. He's done songs with so many people. Y'all remember he did a song with Beyonce as well too. There Goes My Baby. It's just so many people, and I am here for it. I'm excited. Y'all let me know, what do y'all want to see Usher perform, because I want to see him perform everything. But those two songs that I named, yeah, and Lovers and Friends, please give us like 30 seconds of it. Okay. Anywho, moving along into the next celebrity news, not as positive, but I have to say it. Yeah, Jeezy, the rapper, has filed for divorce from his wife of 2 years, I believe, Jeannie Mai. Now, as y'all know, Jeannie Mai was a host on the talk show The Real. She was also previously married to a white man. They got divorced after a lot of years of marriage. Started dating Jeezy. I believe they dated for like a year. Then all of a sudden, they was married. They literally just had a child together about a year ago. Their daughter is only 1 year old. And totally caught her off guard. Just a month ago, she was posting positive stuff about him on Instagram and so excited for the release of his new book and just really hyping him up. Yeah, she was confused just like us when he filed for divorce. How many instances do you hear where the male is the one that filed for divorce? Irreconcilable differences. It's not rumored that she was cheating or anything, so I don't know what it is, but y'all already know how this goes in the celebrity gossip world. It will start seeping through and coming out. A little bit has already happened. Basically, they think differently. He's more of the introvert. She's definitely the extrovert. She likes to have things her way. She sometimes has a little angry streak. Yeah, I think at this point she's like, I want to fight for my man. She has thus far contested her divorce. So she doesn't want to get a divorce. Hopefully, since they are still legally married, nothing is finalized. Hopefully, they can work this out. We'll see, y'all. I will keep y'all updated. I always want the married couples to stay together, especially if like nobody is physically hurt, and if it can be mended, and let's move on. Okay. Moving right along into some other good celebrity, or should I say Hollywood news. Yeah, the writer's strike has reached a tentative agreement deal. According to apnews.com, it says the union representing screenwriters reached a tentative agreement with Hollywood studios to end a historic strike after nearly 5 months, raising hopes that a crippling shutdown of movie and television filming could be near an end. Specifically, it says the Writers Guild of America announced the deal Sunday in a joint statement with the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, the group that represents studios, streaming services, and production companies in negotiations. The agreement must be approved by the Guild's board and members before the strike officially ends. That could happen this week. Yeah, I hope so, because I got more than a few shows that they have been pushed back and I've been patiently waiting. I wanted to watch Stranger Things this year. Obviously, that's not happening because of the writer's strike. I love House of the Dragon. Yeah, it's a lot. Okay. And that's why we see all of these reality shows that are just popping them out because they don't need writers. So, but we do appreciate it because in the meantime, that is my next quick wrap up. Y'all, Love is Blind season 5. It is back in full effect. And when I tell y'all it's giving, like it's fully giving. I thought last season was a lot, and we had a lot of like topic discussion from that show. Yeah, last season don't have nothing on season 5, and we haven't even seen all of the engaged couples yet. They haven't went on the vacation yet. They haven't lived with each other yet, met the families. They ain't made it to the altar yet, and it is already crazy in the pods. Yeah, I'm so excited, and that is my really big news I have to announce to y'all. I am getting back on my YouTube channel. Yes, at Twinkle's Take. I will be giving y'all my take and doing reviews on this season of Love is Blind. Those episodes should be uploaded this week. I will be reviewing episodes 1, 2, 3, and 4. New episodes come out every Friday. So if y'all watch Love is Blind, please tune in. And if you don't, tune in anyway, because y'all know I be detailed and y'all gonna feel like y'all watching it anyway. But before we close out this show, I do have to leave y'all, of course, with the quote of the day. The quote of the day for today is by a man named George Bernard Shaw. The quote is, "We don't stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing." Y'all, live life, laugh, love, let that inner child in you come out and play so that you don't be growing these gray hairs and be trying to leave up out of here anytime soon, because life is too precious. Y'all, let your light shine and live. Okay. Yeah, this has been another great episode of Excuse Me, I'm Speaking. Thank you so much for tuning in. As usual, you can follow me on Instagram at SheIsTwinkle1. Also, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment below, send me your feedback on Instagram, call me, text me, however you communicate with me. Until next time, thank you for your support, and I love you all. Bye-bye.